Welcome back to the channel. It's been a crazy week in the crypto market, one of those stretches where even the strongest names are taking a pretty big beating. You've got Astar down 17%, Pump down 12%, SPX dropping about 12%, and whatever that random token everyone was hyping last week that's down 11%. Even BNB, which was holding up surprisingly well during most of the recent volatility, is starting to pull back. And it's so funny because if you've been watching the chatter online, BNB has been all over people's feeds for the last few days. Everyone was calling for a breakout, posting those BNB to $1,000 memes, saying this was going to be the coin to lead the next leg of the bull run. But, as always, when too many people start cheering too loud, the market likes to humble them. The same crowd that was talking about how BNB was about to explode is now watching it retrace right back down, dragging its entire meme coin ecosystem with it. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be taken as financial or investment advice. But regardless of all that noise, there's one project that continues to attention: Zebec Network, ticker symbol ZBCN. It's honestly been one of the most interesting coins to follow over the last year. We've been covering this one since, February or March maybe? Back when hardly anyone was paying attention. Once ZBCN started showing signs of life, everybody suddenly had an opinion. You had people trying to spread FUD, calling it a scam, warning that it was a classic pump and dump in disguise. Innovative project starts gaining momentum. The critics crawl out of the woodwork to try to talk it down. Especially today, when the broader market is pulling back hard, the way ZBCN has been holding up says a lot. If you ask me, the price action has actually been surprisingly resilient over the last couple of weeks, another leg higher. It feels like it's only a matter of time before ZBCN gets back toward its previous all-time highs. Think about what this thing did last time. It went from around $75 million in market cap to somewhere around $500 or $600 million at its peak. And that wasn't during a raging bull market. That was when the broader market looked like absolute trash. Bitcoin was struggling, Ethereum was barely holding its range, and sentiment across crypto was gloomy. And yet, ZBCN was rallying like it didn't care what the rest of the market was doing. That kind of relative strength is rare. Fast forward to now, the market once again looks like trash, and it makes you wonder, could ZBCN be setting up to start another rally while everyone else is bleeding out? There was an article circulating this week titled 3 Made in USA Coins to Watch in the Second Week of October. And guess which one made the list? Yep, ZBCN. The article highlighted how ZBCN jumped 21% after the SEC issued a no-action letter, which basically means the regulator isn't planning to take enforcement action against the project. That kind of signal goes a long way toward building confidence, especially in the U.S. crypto sector, where regulatory uncertainty is often the biggest roadblock. The article also pointed out that the MACD, now, they didn't go super deep into the fundamentals of ZBCN. It was more focused on the price action and momentum side of things. But still, it's great to see more mainstream sources finally acknowledging this project. Because that's what it needs right now: awareness. News spreads influence, and influence drives liquidity. If nobody's talking about ZBCN, then how can we expect the price to move in a favorable direction? The more conversations there are, the more eyes on it. Even before the no-action letter headlines dropped, the price of ZBCN was already showing signs of life. It had been trading pretty sideways leading up to the token unlock event, which usually scares people. You know how it goes. Token unlocks come around and retail investors start panicking, assuming there's going to be a dump. Historically, people rushing to sell off their holdings just to avoid getting caught in a downward spiral. But this time, it didn't play out that way, which tells you that the market participants holding this token aren't just weak hands. The traders and investors holding ZBCN now are battle-tested. Most of them have been through multiple pullbacks and still haven't let go. This project evolved from being an obscure startup to one that's getting mentioned in the same breath as major US-based blockchain. And where things get even more exciting it feels like it's only a matter of time before Coinbase finally lists ZBCN. That would be a major catalyst. Think about what happened when other mid-cap coins got their Coinbase listings. They often explosive short-term runs, sometimes doubling or tripling in market cap within days. If that happens here, the implications for ZBCN's ranking and exposure are massive. On the month, ZBCN is up around 23%. On the day, it's up nearly 10%, and the current price sits around 4.9 cents rebound. That gives it a market cap of roughly $456 million, putting it at spot number 130 on CoinMarketCap, only 30 spots away from breaking into the top 100, and that's significant, because once a project crosses that top 100 threshold, the entire perception around it changes. Institutional interest starts to pick up, exchange liquidity improves, media outlets start giving it consistent coverage. It's no longer seen as a small-cap experiment. It becomes a legitimate contender in the mid-cap space. The community behind ZBCN is one of the strongest aspects of the project. Community is everything in crypto. You can have the best tech, the best roadmap, the best tokenomics, but if you don't have people who believe, defend, and promote the project, it's just code sitting on a blockchain. ZBCN's community has been relentless. They've been driving engagement across social platforms, organizing AMAs, educating newcomers, and pushing for listings. You really have to give them credit. Without that grassroots energy, would ZBCN be getting attention from platforms like Kraken right now? Probably not. That's what separates it from so many other coins that fade away after one hype cycle. Most investors hold something in their portfolio and never talk about it. They just sit on it quietly, hoping it magically goes up. But the truth is, in this space, silence is the fastest path to irrelevance. If you're not talking about your project, if you're not creating content, posting updates, and spreading the word, then you're not helping build its narrative. And without a narrative, you're not going to make any money. The ZBCN holders understand this. They're loud, proud, and organized. And that's why the project keeps showing up in headlines while others disappear. Now, in terms of performance, ZBCN's all-time high this year looks like it was somewhere in the mid-fives, around 50 cents. That means even after all the corrections, it's still up nearly 400% on the year. That's incredible performance in an environment where many altcoins are struggling just to stay green. The token has already been listed on multiple major exchanges, which adds legitimacy and liquidity. Rally point when ZBCN moved from 3.5 cents to roughly 5 cents, that's a 50% move in a very short period of time. For a project of this size, those are serious numbers. What's fascinating is that this wasn't a random speculative pump. It was supported by a confluence of positive fundamentals. The project's ecosystem continues to grow, partnerships are forming, and the utility of the token is becoming clearer. Zebec has positioned itself as a bridge between real-time payroll, streaming payments, and DeFi, something that traditional finance simply cannot replicate efficiently. That's why analysts who previously ignored it are now starting to include it in their watch lists for 2025. It's evolving from being seen as just another crypto token into a genuine infrastructure layer that could redefine how recurring transactions work across chains. Of course, it's not all sunshine. Volatility remains part of the game. The same factors that helped ZBCN skyrocket can just as easily cause sharp corrections. The SEC's no action letter is a big green light. It means the project is on the right side of regulatory compliance, something that could eventually open doors for integration with larger financial players who've been sitting on the sidelines. When you add it all up, the solid technical setup, regulatory clarity, community strength, and strong year-to-date performance, ZBCN starts to like one of those rare altcoins that might actually be building towards something sustainable, not just another quick pump. If momentum continues and we get that long-awaited Coinbase listing or some additional strategic partnerships out of the US, it wouldn't be shocking to ZBCN comfortably sitting inside the top 100 by the end of the year. So, if you've been following this channel since the early days when we first started talking about ZBCN, congratulations, you've been ahead of the curve. The noise will keep coming. Critics will keep doubting. But time and again, the project has proven that it's capable of weathering storms and emerging stronger. The next few months could be pivotal, and it'll be exciting to see how far this coin can go as market conditions evolve. And that's going to wrap it up for today's deep dive, everyone. If you enjoyed the breakdown and want to stay ahead of the curve with real detailed updates on ZBCN and the rest of the market, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos.